For me, it took a long time because of my particular journey to not feel like an imposter.
You're going to tell me I suck. I'm going to try not to suck as much as possible because you're my client. And we have this, again, mutual, authentic relationship.
We hire for fit. If we feel like in the meeting you're a good fit, we'll teach you how to do what we do.
Hi, welcome back to Power Theory. My name is Russ Ouellette. I'm an executive coach and organizational consultant. My mission is to help people find their personal power to be the best employees and people they can possibly be. Today, I have the pleasure of working with a very close friend of mine, Bill Schick.
It's about quality of life. Can I see spending a significant portion of my life with you as a client or as a part of Mesh?
And I actually think that these relationships are critically important, especially for people that are trying to grow a company. Say a little bit more about Mesh.
We've been in business 18 years now. And it's funny because I never intended to have an agency. I started coming out of working at a medical device company, and I experienced all the challenges that you have in-house. And I just thought that for the successes that we had, there's just a better way to do it. I've never worked at an agency. Again, didn't plan on having an agency. I just started contracting. I had a good, solid network of people internationally from previous jobs, and I just put out a shingle and I said, "Look, I'm on my own now. Can you send me some work?" And I got too busy, and I started hiring people, and now it's 18 years later, and
Yeah.
it's a good, solid group of people.
Right, yeah. So so the focus is life sciences, and what kind of work do you do there?
Yeah, so life sciences, and it's biotech, it's pharma, it's med device, and we do still do some work with tech companies, but we build brands. We do marketing programs. We do strategy. One of the things we do is I operate as a fractional CMO for some companies, so providing a level of leadership that they just don't have access to today. And we help them grow. We help them accelerate.
Right, so the challenges that you saw in-house, you still see with clients today?
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of reasons for it, but ultimately we're all people and we're all trying to make our way. So everybody's trying to figure things out. And when you have a leadership, you have a founder, and you have your business goals, you hire who you can. You try to hire the best people you can kind of get your hands on.
Right.
And there's so many gaps, and you just don't know them unless you come from that space. Yeah. I help fill some of that.
So you have someone that works with you, Jennifer. You guys have a very close relationship, the two of you. And I actually think that these relationships are critically important, especially for people that are trying to grow a company, right? Talk a little bit about, what makes Jennifer so special to you and your company and, that relationship.
Well, I think you bring up a good point there, and I think it's different for everybody. But for us, what she does and the whole way that she operates is complementary to me.
Right.
So whatever strengths I may have, she doesn't also need to have those strengths. She has other strengths. So, for example, you mentioned connecting and meeting you for networking. I hate networking. It's I don't know. There's just something wired in me that just has a really tough time connecting with new people, even if there's some incentive to do that. And she is a consummate networker. She'll walk into a room and 30 minutes later walk out of that room with 10 new friends.
Well, she is charming.
And she's really able to connect with people and engage in them. And so I guess the point is and it's almost by accident, but how we work well together is her skill set complements mine. There's little overlap, and where I may be weak, she is really, really strong, and vice versa.
Yeah, totally agree, and that diversity of talent is important. But what makes the relationship so bonded? And I think that's the point I'm making. And I think just to like what I said was, if you have a strong relationship with even your friends from college or your longtime friends that you used to hang around with, and you see each other after 20 years, and there's an immediate attraction, and they could be the worst person in the world, and you're still going to care about them. You're going to forgive them. You're going to move on, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be blunt with them. You're going to tell them what's on your mind. You're not going to hold back. What's that like? And I'm sure that Jennifer tells you when you step out of line, and vice versa.
Sometimes, yeah, a lot. You said something to me a few weeks back that I think kind of stuck with me, and it's true in this case with Jennifer. I think pretty quickly when you meet someone that they're your people. You share kind of common views, perspective,
Values.
I was thinking like drivers, but there is a commonality. There's a shared perspective on the world,
Right.
and certainly for us, I couldn't be here without certainly the help of many people along the way. But at the core, I'm driven a lot by challenges to succeed and get the work done. And when I met Jennifer initially, she was actually a client, and I saw that in her as well, which is how she ended up working for Mesh. Yeah. In that I was looking for somebody to do what she was doing, but for us.
Yeah. So let me just pitch this to you and see if this resonates. The thing about me and Heather and me and Christy, and probably Christy and Heather, and also the thing about those relationships is I'm allowed to be as authentic as I can be. It's like there's something that makes me loyal to them. There's something that makes that relationship bond in a different way. I don't have to pretend to be. I don't have to put it on for them. I can have a bad day. Yeah. I can go off and express my ideas, and without fear of being judged. And I think there's something about that, and I think it's that authenticity, that realness, mm-hmm. that no BS, that also translates into other professional relationships. So when I talk about like people finding their power, it's almost like the only way they can really do it is just to be themselves, like just let go. And I think, and to be honest with you, Bill, I think the reason why I was attracted to you in the first place was because, like with you get what you see. Like yeah. There's no pompous. I mean, there's no putting on airs. There's no pretending to be. I hate networking. It's just like it's honest. And I think that when we walk around the world and trying to be all things to other people and trying to perform, and we lose ourselves, and then there's no way you can have strong relationships unless that's possible.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, one of the things that really makes it tough for me to work with people is when they're more focused on, I think, the polish and the presentation of a communication or a message,
right.
And they're not really focused on solving a problem at hand or the task or whatever, like the real issue, the core issue.
Right.
And I think that goes to that authenticity, is being able to say, you know what, I'm a person, I'm a human. This is really not working for me. And that I think that comes through in your interactions with your team and with clients and whoever you're working with. Also, on the other side of that, your ability to draw a line and say, these are kind of my boundaries,
right?
And have that level of kind of I don't know if it's confidence or just self-respect,
right?
To be your authentic self. Like, this is who I am, take it or leave it, which is always a weird conversation during the sales pitch, because that's part of the pitch is, as opposed to maybe another agency where their version of me will come in and sell you on the agency, and then you'll get the interns. You work with me,
Right.
And I tell them, like, if you don't like me right now, this is never gonna work because we're together in this. I'll be on the calls. So there really is that. With that openness, though, the kind of flip side is kind of sticking to your boundaries, and drawing those lines out there. And being cognizant of when, and self-respecting when people cross them.
Yeah. So let's take this same theme now and apply it to customers. So, you and I were having cocktails one time. This was probably 10 years ago. And we were sharing, prospecting and client interactions. Like I think we were complaining about, the company comes to us and asks us for a proposal, which you spend 20 hours on preparing, and then you have to go to a meeting and sit in the lobby with 3 other companies while you go in, and then they don't call you for a month and a half, and they don't let you know what's going on. And you came up with the idea is there should be somebody should definitely do this if we don't do it. There should be a website where we can go on, service providers and vendors can go on and actually give reviews to customers.
Yes.
Or the people that called us to be customers.
Yep.
So that other vendors and providers would know what they're getting into.
Yes.
And so, like, I think we are probably good at it now. Like, I get calls from people, and I have a nice meeting with them, and I can see that they're wishy-washy, and, then, they ask me for a document. I say, well, what do you need a document for? But I need to, run it up the flagpoles, or you give them a document, and then they don't call you for 2 months. I mean, it's infuriating. It's like, how disrespectful. You would never do that with anybody else, yet for some reason, these prospects think they can do that. So we had this fun talking about that, but also translates to customers that you might have. And I'll just tell you, my perspective is that, again, if I have in my contracts and my agreements that say you can quit at any time, and the reason is because if you don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, right? And that clause never comes into effect, because once they start working, it's, you're going to do a good job, and, you're a professional, you know what you're going to do. And I understand the need for those clauses, and especially the lawyers in these organizations and HR and all this other stuff, but it's such a waste of time, and it's so disrespectful. And so anyways, talk a little bit about, the customer experience, the prospect experience, any advice you have for maybe other service providers that are, kind of ramping up their business. And I'm particularly interested in that relationship between you and those customers.
Wow, that is really broad and far wide ranging. There's a lot that you touched on there, and I think that 10 years ago I wouldn't have. I knew my craft, but I didn't know sales, and not necessarily client management. And so I would be taking, whatever calls I could get and responding to those proposals. And, when they would ask us for anything, no matter how crazy it sounded, we would run around and we would meet those needs. And today, we run a different business. And we know exactly who our ideal customer is. We know what problems they're experiencing, what their level of expertise is, who they have for bodies in-house or aligned to get work done. We know all of the things that are flags for us. We know where we can shine. And it's a bit of expertise, but we didn't know that then. And I think some of it is just the experience. But I think having in your mind, and this is part of the process that we go through with our clients, is who is an ideal customer for you? If you could look at any of your customers today and say, Mary is my perfect customer, and here's why they are, that business is ideal. If you can look at that, and when you're going into a sales conversation, look at very critically Not how can we adjust.
Almost like you're evaluating them at the same time.
That's exactly right. That's kind of where I'm going to with this is stop thinking, in terms of them evaluating you, because they are, but a lot of times they don't know what they're looking for. And we could go down this whole path of most of the time when I'm brought in, I don't do the thing that they've hired me to do, because they think they have a problem. They've had a conversation, they've read a couple of blogs, they've watched a couple of 10-minute YouTube videos, and they think, I need this. And then we have our initial conversation, and that's my opportunity to say, thank you, but this is actually what you need instead. And we have a process for that. But you treat, I think, too much early on. I felt that I didn't feel ready. I didn't feel confident in what I did, and I felt under the spotlight. I felt that I was being evaluated. I never for one time put myself in the shoes of, do I really want to work with these people?
Right.
Like, what am I should evaluate them too, because I'm going to invest so much of my life, so much of my team. I mean, how things might, bleed through to family. There's so much of my life is impacted by this relationship. Do I want to work with these people?
Right.
And realizing that once you set criteria for who your best customer is, and then you start holding, prospects up to that, it changes for you.
But you can also convert. I mean, I think there's certain organizations that, I think especially larger organizations, there's this, we have to have the 20-page proposal because we need to have that so we can show CFO and get approval and bring it up at a meeting and show that we have the information. We need to get 3 of those because we don't trust that whoever comes in is really going to be capable of doing. We don't even trust the people we're going to. But I think that there is a way of educating people on that, and I think that, so I've had a couple of bad experiences where, a university that I actually attended for a while and I was very involved in the university, called me and said, Russ, we want you to come in and do some workshops on change because we're going through change and we have all these professors and we need to help the professors, with this because there's going to be some problems and, we haven't had, any layoffs in 10 years and it's like there's a lot of stuff going on. And I sat in the room with the executives of the college and I basically started coaching them. And I remember saying to them, and the president, who was new, sitting across from me, and I remember saying to them, listen, this is not, and they were all depressed about what was going on. I said, listen, this is a great opportunity. Let me tell you how important it is. And I coached them through feeling that, this is great. So they're all excited. They said, the president says, all right, you're hired. Let's get going. The CFO's not here, but he'll be here next week. And the CFO comes and said, I get a call from the president. Russ, listen, we have to go through a competitive process, but you don't worry, you're the guy. We want you to come in and do it, and but we're going to need you to do a big proposal, all right? And this is the form. I'm like, so they send out this RFP, which is long, and I'm like, I'm getting the president of the organization is telling me, we have to go through this process. So I go and do this long proposal. They make a date for me to come in. And I remember sitting in the conference room with 3 other vendors there, right? And this is what marketing companies go through all the time because this is how people hire marketing companies. And I'm sitting at the table and I'm saying, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. And the president's like, this is what we need. And everybody's like, yeah. And the CFO says, well, we get some other considerations. We have to decide. And the president's like, well, what do you need? Well, he's not on the vendor list. All these excuses. So anyways, long story short, I get a call from the president like a month later, took that long, who told me they hired an ex-professor to come in and do this. It's like, what a monumental waste of time. And these are people that really didn't, these people didn't want to go through this process. It was just a waste of time. How I've turned that around in the past is that I will go to them and I would say in the meeting, oh, you have a great meeting. I'm the guy. All right, this is the deal. There's no contract. You don't have to hire me. let's do this in increments. Let me come in and do a couple of workshops. Let me come in and do a couple things, and then we'll assess from there. This is the fee. This is how much. I mean, there's no mystery. This is the fee. It's so much an hour. This is how we're going to do it. This is how long it's going to take. So it's going to cost you, $15,000 or for the first couple meetings, whatever it is, and let's just decide. And they'll go, all right, let's do that. Now I get to go in front of them. They get to see that I'm easy to work with, that I know what I'm talking about. So, and I actually had this idea that, without all the legalese and without all the, the HR rules and all this other stuff, we should eliminate contracts. If I'm working for you and I suck at something, you're going to tell me I suck. I'm going to try not to suck as much as possible because you're my client. And we have this, again, mutual, authentic relationship, right? And we should be able to work together. And there's no secret of what the fees are. There's no secret of what's going on. You can get rid of me anytime you want. Instead, we get locked into these crazy contracts that they spend, God only knows how much money to have legal people go through it just in case, just so they don't buy a $1,000 hammer.
So you touched on a couple things there. I want to talk about that first meeting for a second because I think that's really important, and that can make or break. So you and I are in consulting businesses, right? I have agency in my name, but we're a consulting practice. I mean, we do more training, education, teaching, leadership, probably than we do, brand and marketing work. Because that's a big piece of it, but We'll come back to that for a second. I think everybody says they hate contracts, and I do. I really do hate them. And so our contract basically says we have an open scope of work, and we have specific language around that, but it's an open scope of work. And if at any point you don't feel like you want to work with us anymore, we're done.
We're done, yeah, right.
Because like you said, I don't want to work with you. Like we said in the first meeting. Like it's how we hire too. We hire for fit. If we feel like in the meeting you're a good fit, we'll teach you how to do what we do. I mean, you have to be able to learn it and you have to be able to apply it. But if you're a good fit, we hire for that first. So, for us, or for me, it's about quality of life. So can I see spending a significant portion of my life with you as a client or as a part of Mesh? And I think that people just don't think about that in that way. It's a bit more transactional, like, I have to get a job done. Can you do the job? Well, it's kind of a jerk. Well, whatever. I don't care. As long as the work gets done. I really don't like that philosophy because then all of the head trash that goes along with working with someone like that, it just doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. So there's so I've run into a couple situations where I'm sure this applies to you, where like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time, right? They don't know that I necessarily know what I'm doing, but
right.
but
they don't know how to measure it. They don't know how to tell if you know what you're doing.
And they just talk to 5 other people that say they do the same thing, but then they're not me necessarily, but they have some other background. They might have value. That's not the point, right? But but I get in there and they say, I always say, listen, this is a partnership. The agreement says we can stop at any time. I'm going to say things to you sometimes you're not going to agree with, and maybe you don't even like, and you're going to say things that we're not going to get mad at each other. We're going to work through it. That's how it goes. But I'm going to pretty much control. I'm going to take you where you need to go, and I'm going to make adjustments based on what that is. So if I'm in a coaching relationship, you want to work on this, I might find out that you really need to work on something else. Mm-hmm. You got to be open to shifting whatever that is. And then I get in there, and then after 3 months, it's like they're looking for me to teach them content. Can you sell me a book to read? Can you, or no, I want you to run the meeting like this. No, I'm the expert. You didn't hire me to let me listen to have you tell me how to run the meeting. I mean, I'll listen to your ideas, and I'm definitely going to collaborate with you. But at the end of the day, I'm a partner in that. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I'm an authentic partner in that. But sometimes they try to over control you. I just recently said no to a very large firm that came to us that wanted us to do strategic planning, and just from the proposal process, I recognized this is going to be a shit show.
Right.
This is not going to be good. They're not going to listen to me. And so I basically sent them a nice note and declined. And then they called me back like a month later. We interviewed 5 companies and we didn't like any of them. Why did you not propose it? I said, well, I gave them my reasons, and then it went away. But yeah, so it's like
Did you but hold on. Did you tell them though? Did you say, I read through your agreement, and I just don't know that you're going to listen.
What I said to them was, in a very long, well thought out email, because I couldn't get them on the phone. Well thought out email. Listen, you know what? What you're looking for is kind of more of a vertical approach. Mm-hmm. You're asking for a lot of stuff that I'm not even sure that you need to do. I understand that. Basically, I said, you need someone other than me. You need someone that's going to. Sometimes when the people do strategy, they want someone to come in and give them the answers. Yeah. That's not Sojourn. That's not Russ Ouellette. I don't come in and give you the answers. I come out and draw the answers out of you, right? But they want someone to come in like a magic CEO and go, oh, you got to do this. You got to merge. You got to do whatever. Now, that's not what I do.
Right.
My sense was they were looking for that direction, and I basically said that I'm not going to do that. And when they asked the question, when they wrote the RFP, it was written by someone in administration that wants to cover all the bases, wants to make sure that everything's covered, and it's so vague. Like it's clearly not. They're not looking for a partnership. Now I understand that's the way the world works, and I'll probably lose a ton of business that way.
Yeah.
But it's so I think what we can do is, if I'm being over controlled, I feel like that's disrespecting me. And I'll just tell you one more story, and then I'll let you share some. It was actually a life science company. It was a great company. It was a startup. They had been around for 5 years, and they were getting into production and growth. And the people that hired me were really. So I'm in a room full of, other than the lawyer, which is a doctor, they're all PhDs in medicine or in something. These are really, really bright people. And I went into that meeting, and I liked them. And I went into the meeting, and I said, listen, I'm the boss here, right? I'm in charge. Like, I had to set the tone that I'm, and it was tongue-in-cheek a little bit, but basically letting them know, look, we're all peers here, and we're going to collaborate like peers. And it was a fantastic run. Now, that lasted like a year, and I did some coaching with certain individuals, and I worked with the executive team, and it worked out really good. But at some point, it was over. It was like, you know what? I was starting to get controlled a little bit. Mm-hmm. I was getting calls asking me to no, don't need to do this anymore. But anyways, so I think you can teach clients to do that, but it really takes a certain courage to be able to do that.
That's really interesting, and I just want to share a story. This is something that happened to me, in the last year. We've been working with a client for a while, and and you would recognize the relationship where the client says to you, you have responsibility for performance,
right,
and the outcomes. But every time you meet, they'll listen, and then they'll have you do not what you recommended.
Right.
And having tried to have a firm and respectful hand there, just kind of running into that for a year and a half. And it takes time, I think, to recognize that you might be in a situation like that. Sometimes it's obvious right away. And you try to walk away from those as quickly as possible, because when you have all the responsibility but not the control, that's just a nightmare. Yeah. So, in this case, we kind of bumped into that, and internally we had discussions like, can we make an impact here? Because we're not being heard. Like, some things are going well, but some of the important things are maybe could be going better. And having these kind of monthly experiences, and so finally, in a meeting where the client says, I think I've decided to bring in my friend to come in
Yeah.
and have him just give us some opinions on what we're doing for marketing. And at that moment, I knew like we had stayed a month too long.
Yeah.
We had talked for about 3 months of maybe internally parting ways, and he was doing it for us. And I said to him in a frank conversation, there's not really any benefit in getting the two of us in a room,
Right.
because he's trying to sell you.
Right.
And so when he's in sales mode, everything that we're doing is wrong.
Right. Right.
And I'm at a point in my life where I don't need to be on that call. For me, it took a long time because of my particular journey. But it took time to not feel like an imposter, not feel like the microscope was really only pointing in one direction,
Right.
that I was comfortable enough and, just in my own skin to say, you know what, I've been in that meeting before and I don't want to be in it again. And I said to him, here's my line. I don't want to be on that call and I don't want to do that. I hear what you're saying. I think I screwed this up. Let's do this instead. They're doing this little piece of work that has nothing to do with you. Another red flag. I mean, apparently we've screwed something up if it's gotten to this point.
Right.
But they're doing this over here. Let's have them report to you what they're doing, and you'll still head up things.
Right.
And we hopped on the call, and it went exactly as I expected. They started beating up my team, which I won't tolerate. And I tried to kind of pause, and they pushed further and further. And I said, I think we're done here. And my client got very upset.
Right.
Said, I thought we were all professionals. And I said,
Well, that's not professional.
this is not professional.
Right.
You and I spoke about this. Well, I'm the client and I'm right.
There you go.
And then
That's
all
the
the
dynamic,
things,
yeah.
all of the things that along the way, sort of like this crescendo in this one moment just came bubbling out. And we knew. We just didn't listen to ourselves.
Right. So now let's think about what we talked about with Jennifer and you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now we're talking about customers and you. You're looking for the same thing. You're looking for respect
Yeah.
in a relationship. And I don't see it as customer and vendor. It's not that at all. It's if I'm the vendor, I'm expecting to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to operate at the highest professional level with integrity and honesty.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sell you anything that I really believe you don't need.
Mm-hmm.
I'll work with anybody you want. But it's going to be transparent and it's got to be authentic. It's the same thing. It's like the same relationship. And I'm sure you have these experiences. I have clients that I actually have become friends with.
Yeah.
Or I consider them friends, and we can talk about those differences in a minute. But it doesn't mean I'm going to hang out and go to the family parties. But I mean, I really feel the same bond that I have with Heather. I feel with this bank president, or I feel with this insurance company executive,
Yeah.
or I feel with the guy that's running the manufacturing company. The way I go into it is we want to do the next right thing, whatever that is. And there's no BS here. This is what we're going to do. And as soon as they pull, I'm the customer card.
Yeah.
Or that's like, it's like, well, that's not a collaboration. As soon as they pull that card, it's like, okay, well, this is not necessarily going to work.
It feels terrible when I think you are in a situation where you feel exactly like that, and then one day you just wake up and you realize that they see it as strictly business.
But don't you see that coming though?
Well, I think we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in this story,
Or you knew it, but you ignored it.
we did.
Right.
We did.
Yeah.
Because that's part of I think what makes us a little bit weaker is that we and this is I think more of like Jennifer's strength, but this kind of deeper caring about the people involved in this and building those relationships, and it's what empowers us to at 51 work late.
Right.
working till 1 o'clock in the morning or on weekends sometimes to achieve crazy things. Things that need to get done to accomplish the things we want, and we want to be doing this type of work. But
So you just said something that's interesting. You said, we genuinely care about the people. That's really kind of Jennifer's department, but it's not your department?
well,
I mean, Bill, come on, you care about the people.
I like people fine. I just don't like networking.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not. I don't feel like I'm a people person. It is not the place where I feel like I'm at home. Like I don't want to go somewhere and meet a stranger and strike up a conversation, or, I'm a bit more of kind of my own tribe, if you will, my own connections where I'm comfortable.
But with those connections, you are a people person. Yeah?
Yeah.
Right. So it's just in the framing of like who they are, finding those people that they are. Yes, the bottom line is we want those same relationships with our customers. And the way we do that is there has to be a kind of professional agency between them. And what I mean is getting satisfied through deliberate action. So if I'm being an agent of Sojourn and Russ Ouellette and consulting work I do, and they're being an agent of their company and their personal power, I'm going to get my well-being satisfied, my values satisfied, by probably working with people that share those values, but through deliberate action, meaning I'm going to deliberately be accountable, I'm deliberately going to show up, I'm deliberately going to give you my best effort, I'm going to deliberately be honest, and that they have to do the same thing. As usual, it's great to spend time with you and talk to you.
You as well.
All right, well, thanks very much for joining us. If you like what you see here, you can click below. I'll see you next time on Power Theory.